Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome, bienvenidos, bienvenue to the Tuesday edition of Burn It Down with Kim Brown. Oh my goodness, I'm hearing myself come through the computer. That is crazy. So let me cut that out. Hey, how's everybody doing out there today? Happy 420 to you, everybody. Of course, if you're watching this show, I can imagine that you find 420 to be as solemn as a holiday as really any others. Is it not? We hold 420 in very high esteem here on the Burn It Down with Kim Brown channel. And listen, I'm very excited to see y'all's very specific faces up in the place. Of course, you know, this is the safe space where we set oppression ablaze, and we know it in our hearts that something better will arise from the ashes. So you guys, we have a big show going on today. If you see me looking off to the side, it's because I'm looking at the television like everyone is looking at the television, because the verdict for the murder trial of Derek Chauvin, who is facing a number of charges after he murdered George Floyd. That verdict is set to be announced momentarily. Genevieve just hit me on the Slack. Did they announce it? Verdict is about to be read. Tunde, are we able to look at any of this live? And actually, before I even go into my whole setup, because we got a lot of shit going on, the Chauvin verdict's about to come out. Of course, you know, people were in the streets for the past couple of weeks now behind the police murders of Daunte Wright and Adam Toledo. We're going to check in with some of the actions that were happening in Chicago and also in DC. And, you know, I might take the time right now to bring in my guest today. You guys know these gentlemen. They are friends of the Burn It Down with Kim Brown family. And also, I didn't forget about that bitch ass nigga over on Fox News. Someone at Tucker Carlson, never heard of him. Anyway, we're gonna address that shit at the end of the show, because we got bigger fish to fry, because this whole program is about the liberation of Black people, and Tucker Carlson does not fit the agenda of liberation of Black people. So fuck Tucker Carlson, and we'll deal with that shit later. Anyway, y'all, welcome today's guests. You know them from being just the most intrepid, independent journalists in the DC area. We are joined today with Black House News' Sean Michael Love and Chuck Modiano. Here we go. He's guilty. Derek Chauvin just found guilty of second-degree murder. Let's go back to you guys. Chuck Modiano is actually down at Black Lives Matter Plaza in DC right now. Chuck, are you able to hear me?
I am. And we got some reaction behind me. I think I saw some shit coming up. Little bad. Some people. You have any thoughts, sir? You have any thoughts?
Hey man, stop trying for all of us, bro. That's it, bro. That's it for me, bro. All of us, bro. It's not just Black Lives Matter, bro. It's all of us, bro. So
I guess. I guess. So, I mean, we really have a unique opportunity here to be getting a live look at the reactions in the street, at least on the nation's capital, with Chuck Modiano out there. Sean Michael Love from Black House News. Sean, you have been covering up all these actions and demonstrations for years now, but of course, over the past 18 months has been particularly contentious in DC. But talk to me about your reaction about Derek Chauvin at least being found guilty on second-degree murder for killing George Floyd. You're muted, Sean. Maybe he's frozen.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry, because I was actually listening to the verdict as it was going, so that's why I muted myself.
No, it's good.
But, you know, I'm actually really surprised at the guilty verdict. Just seeing this country use qualified immunity for police officers over and over and again, and seeing so many police officers walk freely from this, it is a surprise. But at the same time, I'm still not satisfied, because Black men were getting murdered. People were getting murdered by the police literally every day last week, all throughout this trial, and even after George Floyd. So while I'm surprised and somewhat relieved, I'm actually more just shocked. I'm kind of in that like just shocked feeling of, wow, the system actually convicted a cop. But at the same time, it's still on my heart that Dante Wright was killed for air fresheners in the back, in the back of his car. Adam Toledo had his hands raised and he was just murdered. There's also Samuel Ponce, who was murdered out in LAPD. We still don't have justice for Karan Hilton or Deon Kay. So, and there's still so many other names that we can just rattle off that just happened recently that are still on my heart as this trial was going through. So, just a state of shock and relief at the same time.
Yeah, I sort of feel like an uneasy relief. I don't feel 100% relieved by this. Genevieve is updating me. Derek Chauvin guilty on all 3 counts. 2nd-degree murder, guilty. 3rd-degree murder, guilty. 2nd-degree manslaughter, guilty. Chuck Modiano, your personal reaction to this, Chuck, is this the outcome that you were expecting, or is this even an acceptable outcome? I mean, shouldn't they were trying to frame this as, this wasn't policing itself on trial, but just one bad cop on trial. But what Derek Chauvin did is not dissimilar from the way the police conduct themselves every single day across this country. What are your thoughts?
So my thoughts are on the Derek Chauvin trial are incomplete, because Derek Chauvin being found guilty is saying water is wet. We understand what we saw. And it says something so obvious, something so incredibly obvious as water being wet, is what does it mean that we were all worried that the verdict might not go the right way? How have we been conditioned so thoroughly as to not to think it's a possibility you wouldn't have that verdict? And that's scary in and of itself. So the real question is that we understand is, did they make a deal, because there were some officers who testified against Chauvin, did they make an inner deal to save the other 4, to not indict the whole department, to save and sacrifice Derek Chauvin? Because what we have to understand is the whole damn system is guilty. And in Minneapolis particularly, you had 4 officers who were completely complicit and aided and abetted that murder. Not only that, you had a DA, Mike Freeman, and Mike Freeman was trying to get Chauvin off before the uprising forced his hand to arrest Chauvin. And not only that, you had the silence of the entire Minneapolis Police Department, who said nothing in the face of this murder. So we're only scratching the surface as far as Derek Chauvin is concerned.
Gentlemen, I wanted to let me ask you, Sean. I mean, what are your thoughts about Chauvin sort of being the sacrificial lamb, right? So, out of the officers who end up murdering people unjustifiably, a very small number even have charges brought against them, and an even smaller number than that are actually prosecuted successfully with guilty verdicts. I mean, is Chauvin the one that the system decided to give up and to let take the fall for, or at least allow himself to be held accountable, allow the system to hold him accountable for this one particular murder, as we saw so many other murders go uncharged and unpunished by police?
Right. And that's the part that actually makes me angry, right? So growing up, we knew the rules on how the police worked. If we were riding around and somebody had weed in the car, everybody in the car was liable for punishment from the law, right? Even if you didn't smoke, even if you didn't do anything, when they pulled you over, everybody was going in. And I think that's what we're seeing here, is they're trying to throw one officer away, but also not charge the other officers that also were complicit in, like Chuck said, aided and abetted in the murder of George Floyd. So it's still no satisfaction given the context of how Black people and Black men specifically are policed in this country. Black and brown people are policed in this country. There is still injustice. This whole system is inherently guilty, and it still shows while we're going throughout this trial, even with the way the judge pushed and leaned and put George Floyd's character on trial. So we had to go through and traumatize ourselves just to be able to have a guilty verdict. We shouldn't have to go through all this to convict a cop. And when I look at the situations that are coming, especially with Adam Toledo, especially with Dante Wright, it doesn't make me feel confident about anything moving forward, that we had to go through all this for this particular situation. We also still don't have justice for Breonna Taylor, which is which is still an ongoing thing as well.
Gentlemen, I wanted to ask you this because, you both are familiar with the very tiny shitstorm that I've had to deal with for the past couple of weeks regarding conservative media taking my comments and running with them about loot all that shit if Black and brown people are murdered by the state. So given the fact that Derek Chauvin has been found guilty tonight, I suppose a lot of businesses and Dollar Trees and Targets can probably rest a little bit assured that their property is not going to be looted, right? For out of anger, out of frustration, out of just sheer rage of the system failing us once again. So, talk to me about the correlation between Black and Indigenous and Latinx communities actually receiving justice and the precious property that this capitalist system holds more dear than our actual lives being left alone because justice was actually served. Chuck Modiano, is Chuck on? Yep. Nope. Okay.
Oh.
Okay. We dropped
Okay.
Chuck for a second because he's out live. Sean, what do you think about that? A very easy way to protect your property is to not kill Black people in the first place, but make sure that Black people get the justice that they deserve when they are murdered by the state, and your property will be fine. What are your thoughts about that?
Right. There's no amount of looting that we can do that can amount to what's been looted from Black and brown and Indigenous lives. So unless we are actually fighting and truly taking land back, it is not us who stormed the Capitol, right? So you have to put things in context of where their language is coming from, and also just the root of the word looting and where that stems from, right? And it's a very Eurocentric concept of raping and pillaging and looting villages, right? It's what this country was founded on. So when Walmart is out there, who gives a fuck about that Walmart? I saw they went into Little Caesars, right? Okay, they got hungry, so they took the pizza. You know what? That it is what it is. I think in contrast to seeing someone get murdered, having a body lie in the street for 6 hours and the police not do nothing. You had a situation in Portland where they killed someone and then they had pizza afterwards while the body was still laying in the street. So after that, having that anger, and you're supposed to just walk home peacefully afterwards, it's actually irrational to think about, because that's somebody's family member, that's somebody's friend. Dante Wright was going to get his car washed and going to come back home and smoke a blunt with his friends. His friends are angry that they weren't able to enjoy their time in their afternoon together. So however they express that anger is justified. And I think when people really look at American history and put that in perspective, they need to really consider their language when they talk about rioting and looting. And again, most movement justice journalists, we don't consider what's going on. I don't use the term looting in my reporting. I don't use the term rioting. People are speaking out and they're going to be angry, and they're going to voice their concerns and voice their rage however they see fit. I think what's more important is that people of the public stand with those people in solidarity, be them when it is time, be there for those people when it's time to cry, when it's time to heal, when they do need to, get their physical life together to move forward and actually take charge against the system. So instead of condemning behaviors, you should be there to support and uplift those people. So maybe the next time around, it won't be so violent. Maybe the next time around, you'll be standing with them, and that some of this change will be a little bit more positive in the way that you want to see it.
Yeah, it's astounding to me when I see the anger in the comments regarding looting, and it's the ancestors of Fox News viewers are the most esteemed looters of all time. As Africa, North America, South America, Asia, ain't nobody looted better than Europeans. Chuck Modiano, what are you seeing down on the plaza right now? And out of curiosity, did any businesses board up in anticipation for this verdict? And have you seen any National Guard troops? Because we know that the National Guard has pretty much been activated across the country in waiting for the outcome of this trial.
I haven't seen National Guard troops now. It's pretty quiet. There might actually be more press on Black Lives Matter Plaza. That says nothing of the city. I don't see boarded up, some of the places boarded up, or the hotels that I saw earlier in the year, earlier over the summer. So it's a pretty mellow scene right here. I saw some joyous outbursts after the verdict was announced. And as we stand here on Black Lives Matter Plaza and you're having a conversation about looting, I don't think we need to even go into ancient history or across the globe. Right on this plaza this summer, we saw looting by the Metropolitan Police Department. And who were they looting? They were looting the food supporters who were supporting all of the protesters all summer, giving away free food to the unhoused, free food to the protesters. I don't know if the Starbucks down the road had a problem with that, or some of the other businesses had a problem with that. But what happened is the police came in and they destroyed the burgers, they destroyed the hot dogs, they kicked over the barbecues, and to the tune of over $25,000 they looted over a few weeks. And that includes the medics who are out here providing medical services to protesters. So I saw looting right on this plaza. I saw rioting right on this plaza, not just by police officers, but by the Nazis, not just on January 6th, but in December and November, right on this plaza. So we don't have to go that far back. So when we talk about looting, we talk about rioting, it is a language that is used just to criminalize protesters, but crime is subjective, and that doesn't seem to apply to the Metropolitan Police Department or the Nazis that we have all seen on January 6th.
Thank you very much for that, Chuck. I'm sorry, Sean, continue. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, nobody had any problem with looting when it came to the Proud Boys going after historically Black churches, right? So I think those people need to stand up and condemn the far right nationalists that are out there doing a lot more harm than we ever done.
I want us to take a look, gentlemen. You both have been, again, it's sort of a misnomer for me to say that y'all have been out in the streets these past couple of weeks. No, y'all have been out in these streets the last couple of years, bringing us the actual live on the ground pictures that a lot of the local news media won't bring us, that the national cable networks absolutely will not bring us, from the perspective of the people that are fed up, that are frustrated, that are angry, that have been taken to the streets with consistency, and who have been abused not only by the police, but abused by the white supremacists who came to town on January 6th and on prior occasions, even before that. Tunde, can we cue up Sean's documentation of what was happening between Metropolitan Police, DC Police, and people who showed up in DC by the thousands, by the hundreds, to protest the murders of both Dante Wright and Adam Toledo. This is from Black House News. Everybody, take a look.
Back up! Back up! Back up! Hey, grab him! Back up! What are you doing? Back up! Get on your feet! Back up! Back up!
They told you was 2/3 of a man, and you still put on they super suits with them ugly ass I remember even Harriet Tubman said, like, you know, she would have saved more if they knew they were slaves.
But I care about him.
We can love him, but we can.
But I care about him, genuinely. So I'm deeply embarrassed on behalf of your mother.
Who is a black woman?
Who is a black woman?
Who is a
Just
black
like
woman?
Breonna Taylor.
Say what? Say what?
What side are you on, my people? What side are you on?
We on the freedom side.
What side are you on, my people? What side are you on?
We on the freedom side. Say what? Say what? We on the freedom side. We on the freedom side.
Muhammad Bond, Eric Garner, Michael Brown, Walter Scott, Philando Castile, Dante Wright, Marquise Austin, Raphael Briscoe, Gary Hopkins Jr., Marvin Scott, Patrick Lynn Warren Sr., Vincent Del Monte, Andre Maurice Hill, Angelo Quinto, Rashard Brooks, David Piccati, Tony McDade, Elijah McClain.
I don't want to say another motherfucking name.
Javier Ambler, Shenandoah Okobi, Nehemiah Dillard, Ayana Monet Stanley Jones, Tarico Wilson, Alberta Spruill, Kendra St. James, Eula May Love, Anthony Smith, Alton Sterling. These are our community members. What if it was the person standing next to you? What if it was your best friend? What if it was your favorite revolutionary? We can't stop, y'all. I don't care if it's 10 of them. I don't care if it's 40 of us. I don't care if it's 4,000. We cannot stop. We cannot stop until this shit is gone. Shut shit down. We shut shit down. Shut shit down. We 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 shut shit down. A-C-A-T. All crimes are masters. A-C-A-T.
I mean, Sean, I'm not usually moved to tears, but that was some like incredible pictures and scenes and emotions that you captured. Like the sis telling the black cop to quit his job because she loves him, and the sister reading off the names of like our people who have been murdered, you know, shot down. Like, I mean, what tell me about what you experienced covering these most recent actions. Like, I saw the police being extremely aggressive. Tell me how MPD now is dealing with people in the streets for the liberation of Black lives versus how we saw them handle the J6 rioters, insurrectionists with basically kid gloves. Are the cops being more aggressive to Black protesters now, more so now than they were even before January 6th?
Yes, just quite simply to that question, yes. Being on the ground J6 versus now, it actually angers me even more because we saw them, you know, escorting people out of the Capitol after they were, you know, breaking and damaging, you know, even more than any spray paint, anything that we could spray paint, right? And they were escorted out of the Capitol safely. They made barely any arrest on J6. Most of them happened afterwards. To see the force that they come after us when we honestly, the protesters out there, as you hear the emotion and you hear the passion, that's what you feel across as you move through. On J6, the energy was very much hateful, was very much like war, you know, ready to do and cause as much harm as possible, where the protesters that are out that you see every night here, they just want their voice to be heard, right? And and making sure that we say all the names. I thought that was one of the most powerful moments that we captured was the young woman reading. And I didn't capture the whole thing because it was actually a long speech, because you really have to consider, really take the time to think about how many Black lives, Black and brown lives that have been taken just over the past year. And then she also read some over the past 5 years. And knowing that the police kill almost three people a day, and two out of three of them will be Black or brown, it was a lot of names that she read. And just in that moment, for them to afterwards come with violence, I think shows the character of the police, of our police, the local police department. And it shows the character of just the police culture nationwide, that they don't care about how just the cause is that we're standing for. When it comes to Black and brown people coming together, gathering, they will use force. And I don't see any let up. I saw them they were pretty ready to use chemical irritants. We were quite lucky that we didn't get tear gassed, I felt, honestly. But it is a real distinct difference between how they treat white and Black protesters. And I think it's painful. It makes me more angry, and it makes the people fighting for justice even more angry, no matter what verdict they give a cop.
Yeah, just a reminder, everyone who might be tuning in to hear for the first time today, talking about the guilty verdict in the murder trial of Derek Chauvin for killing George Floyd. He was guilty on all 3 counts, and we're talking with live reaction from our guests. Black House News is Sean Michael Love and independent journalist Chuck Modiano. Chuck, to piggyback off the question that I asked Sean, what were your observations about the level of aggression Metropolitan Police used against demonstrators over these past couple of weeks versus the way that, you all saw firsthand that Trump supporters and Tucker Carlson viewers and Fox News viewers were allowed, easy escort inside and outside the Capitol after they stormed it and looted it. What's your take here, Chuck?
It couldn't be an easier softball question, Kim. I have to tell you, it's night and day. It's really, really night and day. And up to this past weekend, we just saw it this past weekend, we saw this incredible police response to about 100 protesters in this breathing time. We saw bike cops, about 50. We saw vans. We saw cars. We saw a helicopter up above. This all for 100 protesters, not insurrectionists attacking the Capitol by the thousands. And it's mind-boggling that the threat of fighting for racial justice, threat of Blackness and those who stand in solidarity with racial justice, of how they fear that. It's quite incredible. And as Sean pointed out, and Sean has done a wonderful job of doing this regularly, is he pointed out the love. You just saw the video, you saw love. It brought you to tears. There's love in these streets. And it's, as a street journalist, it's very hard to capture love. It's very easy to capture rage. It's very easy to capture conflict and all of that. It's hard to capture love through the camera. But if you want to talk about the balance of what happens on Black Lives Matter during the dead time or during the vigils or during the ceremony, it's love. And it's the love that's uniting, that is getting people in the streets to fight for racial justice, to fight, and that's the hate. It's very clear. We know what we're fighting against, and that's the hate. And I would say one more thing. In the list of names that you heard, what's different about D.C. than anywhere else, you'll hear D.C. names. You'll hear Karan Hilton being mentioned. You'll hear Deontay being mentioned. You'll hear Terrence Sterling being mentioned. Moments ago, before I got on, the uncle of Jeffrey Price was here sharing his thoughts. Jeffrey Price is well known. So they're still looking for justice for Jeffrey Price. So in D.C., nobody ever gets justice who's shot by the police. They don't even get convictions. We don't even get arrests in D.C. So, there's a lot going on, and we're all trying to bring up what everybody knows, but also what's happening here in D.C.
Yeah, let me say the name of Miriam Carey, who was also killed by police on the streets of Washington, D.C. by U.S. Secret Service and U.S. Capitol Police. So again, fuck the police. I want us to take a look, if we could, Chuck, at some of what you captured over the past several days on the streets of Washington, D.C. and get everybody's reaction. And gang, again, I can't overstress like how critically vital the work that Sean and Chuck do are to this movement, because they are out there capturing the truth. They are capturing the actual factuals. And it's not sanitized. It's not sugar coated for network television. This is the raw shit that is happening to our people who take to the streets in support and defense of Black lives and Black liberation. So please, Tunde, let's take a look at what Chuck Modiano shot in DC over the weekend.
Running behind people, chasing people who are literally arguing that their life matters. You look stupid. Quit your fucking job. Quit your job. There's a lot of schools in DC that could use your salary. Come the fuck on. And you're probably not even from here. So you come all the way from wherever the fuck you from to be a police officer. You could have been anything else. Go ahead, head out, you guys. You're giving me Lance Armstrong. You go, boy. You look so good. Quit your job, though. Quit your job. 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 George Floyd, man. We got to fight back. Sandra Bland, man. We got to fight back. Adam Toledo, man. We got to fight back. 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 We got to fight back.
Are we back up? Sorry. I'm like, I can't hear the video. Is there more video? I'm sorry. I was so entrenched in the pictures there, Chuck. What we have been seeing across the country has been, it's the reason why we named today's show what we named. Protesters for Black lives don't have constitutional rights. We have seen that time and time again, where our First Amendment right to freedom of speech, not respected, our freedom to assembly, not respected. And then specifically, journalists have been targeted by police, especially, independent journalists. And there's been sort of like this state imposed, credentialing, I guess, of who is an accepted journalist. Like if you have credentials, then you can stand here and bear witness and cover this. But if you're not credentialed, fuck you, we're gonna throw you to the ground and beat your ass. Like Chuck, in terms of the way that the press has been treated, yourself included, and what you witnessed, how Sean has been treated, right? Talk to me about your observations and what you've seen.
Well, there's so many layers to it, as you mentioned. All independent press is not treated as press versus corporate sanctioned press. Are not treated as colleagues. Meaning, if one of us gets arrested, if one of us gets beaten, CNN is not going to get our back. Okay, so that's one layer, the division between corporate press, and I think that really showed when in January 20th, 2017 when there were over 200 people arrested at Trump's inauguration, including 6 journalists, and you didn't see it on the news. I mean, there were a few articles. You didn't see it on the news about those 6 journalists who were facing decades in prison. So there's the corporate gap to the independent gap. Even now, once you get in the independent gap, then you have a racial gap. I have more privileges than Sean. It's just what it is. We saw in August 2 wonderful documentarians, Keon and Drew, were both arrested in a kettle of 41 people in the same night. And Drew says, the white documentarian, loved him, and he says, hey, listen, I'm pressed. And they let him out of the kettle. Keon, his partner, the black documentarian, says, listen, I'm pressed. I don't care if you're pressed, and they keep him in the kettle. So I think we have to understand that there's oppression against all independent journalists, but there's still layers of privilege within that oppression. So it gets really a little bit crazy, but there's been a war on journalism the entire time throughout, down to this past Saturday when Sean had his foot stuck in a police pile, and my guy, he was filming, his hand was steady, he was still on the ground, and he was still filming the whole time. So I have to throw out his incredible commitment, and not just commitment, but confidence in keeping the camera straight to give folks the footage while being attacked.
Right. You better give Black House News they props out here. You better be understanding of the skill and ability and focus and balance it requires to hold a camera whilst being jostled around and with police pigs in your face and motherfuckers at your back. Sean, talk to me about.
1 second?
Yes, go ahead, Chuck.
I want to give Sean more than props. He's been doing work out here. I'm putting his Cash App out there. That's Black House News. Cash App. I don't care if that's overindulgent. I'm putting that out there. Help independent journalists out. Is that out of line?
Thank you.
Wait, say it, spell it out for us, Sean. What's the Cash App? What's the Venmo? What's the PayPal?
Just Black House News, if you feel so inclined, all together. I think really it's just the work for the people. I think also, one, I'm grateful because right now there's also an attack on, there's a disconnect between media and protesters. So to be someone that other protesters will try to save in the midst of everything going down is honestly, I'm just honored and grateful to have everybody's trust in that people literally have my back out there. So that's why I kind of feel so confident to be out there because I know the people around me, they love me. And it's also that they know that I'm going to try to do the best for them as well. So I'm just honored and grateful for that kind of respect from just the comrades and everybody out there, including Chuck, who was not too far away as well.
Hold on, Sean, can I ask you a question? I just wanted to circle back to something that you said, that there's a big disconnect between media and the protesters. Can you elaborate on what you mean by that? Yeah,
well, there's a sense of, protesters, there's like a lot of media who are resisting to some of the rules of protest about like not capturing faces, about not, trying to expose them too much. And also, even in some of the language that independent media has used, if you're still using violent language towards the people of the protest and activists of the protest, then you are still acting like a vehicle and an extension of the state. So what I've been trying to do is push that envelope forward and let other journalists and other photojournalists and independent media know that you can stand on the right side of this and still be able to do your job and still be able to get the word out there and tell the truth about what's going on. But I think when it comes to developing those relationships, it's really getting the consent from the people around you that you're covering, right? So if they don't want you around or if they don't want you to do a certain thing, you have to listen to them and honor that respect. I think there's too many people in the press, especially some noteworthy photographers, everybody, there's several great photographers that I know, but that just because you're a great photographer, it doesn't give you the right to just photograph a protest because it matters what language you're going to use afterwards. And I think building that trust and rapport with the people that you're covering matters. And more independent media and press need to take that seriously and take that into consideration. And also learn about abolition, learn about defunding the police, learn about what they're covering, right? Don't just come to a protest and not even know the name that we're chanting or even know the story of what's going on. So I think those kind of things matter more. And that's also why I get attacked by the police more, right? Like, or just, because I am actually, standing on one side, and I am going to make sure that I'm going to hold the police accountable in everything that they do.
And that's why I'm in such like continued admiration of what you guys go out there and do. Like, anytime the shit's going down, Sean and Chuck are out there, y'all, and they are out there fearlessly, and being subject to abuse and to harassment at the same time that they are showing solidarity with the people and with the victims of those who have been affected by police violence and police brutality. Gentlemen, so all right, we can sort of temporarily exhale. I mean, I guess tonight it'll be a decent 420 for us all. We can all roll up and celebrate the conviction of Derek Chauvin, to know that George Floyd's family at least got the justice that they were seeking, with convictions on all 3 counts. But the reason why people were in the streets these past couple of weeks has to do with Dante Wright and do with Adam Toledo. I want us to take a quick peek, Tunde, at some of what was happening in Chicago, guys. Y'all know Chicago is one of my favorite places. And Chicago police are just a deplorable gang of taxpayer-funded thugs. And apparently Mayor Lori Lightfoot has no say over these Bamas, and she will cape for them even when they lie blatantly about whether or not a 13-year-old 7th grader was armed with a gun when he was shot in the chest. And the police have been borne out to be outright liars in that respect. So we are about to check out some videos from Vashon Photo, based out of Chicago. Also, a independent journalist named Dude Duty, which is an awesome fucking Twitter name. And one other, there was one other contributor, Solidarity Irvin, is going to be the last video. So what we're going to see, firstly, is love for Adam Toledo's family. And as Sean and Chuck just pointed out, it's important to capture the love. It's easy to capture the rage and the anger, but there is a lot of love and support out there for the people that have been suffering. So we're going to see that, and then we're going to see protesters outside of Chicago's Fraternal Order of Police headquarters in the West Loop, where they were shouting at the cops, "Why'd you kill a child?" So check out the scenes from Chicago in the days and weeks since the body cam footage was released of Adam Toledo, 13 years old in the 7th grade, being shot in the police with his hands up and palms out. Tunde, if we could please check that out.
Why'd you kill a child? Why'd you kill a child? Why'd you kill a child?
Thing that's happening constantly, and we keep asking change from a system that does not care about its people at all. Because clearly, we're still out here asking for the same thing, justice. Where is the justice? It's the same system, so we will not get any justice, because this has been happening for countless and countless and countless of years.
captured by Solidarity Urban, what you just saw was an estimated 3,000 to 4,000 Chicagoans marching to the home of Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot to let her know, Lori, you need to get these motherfuckers all the way together. But we know Lori Lightfoot doesn't have no control over CPD, just like Muriel Bowser doesn't have any control over Metropolitan Police as well. So, gentlemen, as we look ahead, I mean, again, I'm almost reluctant to call it a celebration, even though it is a celebration. It is a victory, but it still feels like the rug is going to be pulled out from under us really at any point in time, because the motherfucking police could shoot and kill somebody tonight. You know what I mean? And then we back at square one, right where we started from, wondering whether or not justice in the form of this rotten ass American criminal justice system will be benevolent and shine on us occasionally, like it only seems to do. Sean, when we look ahead to whether or not a conviction will be achieved in the murder of Daunte Wright, when we examine whether or not a police will even be charged in connection to the murder of Adam Toledo. I mean, how do you feel about tonight? How are you going to mark what happened with the Chauvin conviction, but still understanding that there are still people, families recently and from long ago, who are still demanding justice, still waiting for justice, and it's still not here?
I think everybody should still take the streets tonight. We do not have justice for Daunte Wright. We do not have justice for Adam Toledo. In DC, like we said, Karan Hilton, Officer Sutton, still has a job, right? So we still want him to be fired. We still want him to be charged as well for vehicular manslaughter. There's plenty of reasons for us to be in the streets, even for people who don't necessarily care about police brutality. I was speaking to one woman on the train when we took over the trains recently. We still got children in cages, right? Like we still have like big problems in this country, and also with American imperialism, that we need to stand up for and actually start pushing this government in a way that actually meets the needs of the people. We should not be. I mean, I'm happy for this verdict, but again, the taste of all the people that were killed last week is still fresh in my mouth, right? Like I still feel that, and I think we should show solidarity for all the ones we do not have justice for. That's how I think we should mark the night.
Chuck Modiano, I know we've had you and we've lost you a couple times during this hour. Tell us again, describe what you're seeing down at Black Lives Matter Plaza in the nation's capital right now.
A lot of press, probably more press than people, but you had your little outbursts of celebrations from the few people who were here. I was expecting more people here, but here, let me see if I could pull you and see. Let me just put this on just to be safe for a second. So you see there's more press. I think right behind me, that's Yamiche from New York Times. And there's really more cameras than people. So I can't really say there's great reaction. I was able to interview a few people before what happened, but there's just fewer people than I thought. So that's really interesting. But I think Sean's point is real important, because all the names that Sean spoke about, they were all during the Derek Chauvin trial. And that doesn't include other news of the undercover police officer who was the police got away with beating in St. Louis, and they did not get arrested. We also learned in the last 2 weeks that the officer who shot Jacob Blake, he's back on the job, but back to normal. Right. Things are good. We heard about in North Carolina, I think a 74-year-old grandmother was beaten. That happened during this time. And then we also we saw the case where the military officer was pulled out of a car and humiliated, and the work he did as a military veteran gave him no credence. When he came back into civilian life, he was treated as officers as he was less than human. So whether you're an undercover cop in St. Louis who is with protesters getting beaten, or you're a military commander, a military vet, it doesn't, and you're black, it doesn't seem to help you much.
Absolutely not. And I would hope that black cops and black members of the military have a better understanding of this, because when that happened to Lieutenant Nazario in Windsor, Virginia, we did a brief, a tiny recap or even explainer about how many black military members in their uniform have been lynched in this country after serving their nation, fighting for democracy abroad, and then come back to America to Jim Crow, into lynching, into straight up hate. Sean, I'm gonna let you get the last word here, because I'm gonna let y'all can sign off if y'all want, because I'm about to fry up some troll, the biggest troll out here, the biggest white supremacy propagandist on mainstream airways right now. I got some words for him, and that's coming up in a moment. But Sean, tell me what you expect. What kind of summer is this going to be, Sean? I mean, we saw, unprecedented people in the streets last summer, and it was sustained until, I guess, it turned cold, and then all the white people went back in the house. But tell me, given that you have been a part of this cycle for several cycles now, what, from your observations and from what people are telling you, what do you expect this summer to look like in the streets of DC?
Well, I definitely hope it's not going to be a white boy summer, as Chet Hanks was trying to throw out there. Like, it's definitely not going to be that, right? I think all the allies who said they had protest fatigue, I hope you got your rest. I think last summer was about mobilizing and organizing. I think this summer, what you're going to see is the fruits of the labor of all the organizing efforts that happened last year really coming to fruition. What you've been seeing over the past few months is a strong mutual aid effort. So you're still going to see that component. But what it also allows is us to reach a broader audience and people who would normally not come out to protest, and just contribute to the mutual aid side. But what we're showing is that there's more ways you can get involved in the revolution than just being in the streets. But being in the streets is still a powerful force, and there's still several roles for people to play. So I still expect people to be in the streets. Officers around the country should know that if you kill someone, we are going to know, and we're going to activate, and we're going to be ready. As soon as you can't sweep it under the rug anymore. Our communities are stronger. We are talking to each other way more. Our communication is stronger. Like I said, the mutual aid effort for us to be able to extend protests day after day is much stronger than it was before than last summer. So I'm expecting a really strong effort from everyone who's fighting for Black liberation, and also the indigenous forces who are fighting for their land back as well. I definitely see those two movements coming together and doing a lot of work together. And I also see that starting tonight. You also know that I'm an advocate for a general strike. We've seen several worker walkouts already happen across the nation, in LA and down also in Alabama. I'm definitely seeing more of that starting to come to fruition. So I definitely feel like it's going to be a liberation summer, not a white boy summer.
Come on. Yes, that's what the hell I'm talking about. I hear white boy summer, I think of crosses burning. Like that shit sounds terrifying. Chuck Modiano. Chuck Modiano, any last words before you sign off? I mean, what do you expect the streets to look like this summer? Do we? I guess a lot of this depends on how the fuck the police act, right? Like if they can keep their guns in their holsters and not shoot unarmed people, then maybe it won't be as intense as it was last year. But what do you think?
It's very hard to predict, but I could say this about DC. Specifically about DC and why everyone has been out this long, is that the lens is a systemic lens. So in Ferguson, for example, the lens at that time, rightfully so, was convict Darren Wilson. Didn't happen. And they've done great things in Ferguson over the 6 years and started so much of the spirit and resistance that has grown out of that since that time. But specifically in DC, they're talking about things much deeper than just get justice for a cop, just get accountability, and just get Sutton, the man who killed Karan Hilton, behind bars. It's defund the police. It is cut down the $550 million budget that is providing a waste of taxpayer funds so that they can patrol as they did on Saturday, as opposed to have resources in the community. So when you're speaking to people, their lens is systemic. So if their lens is systemic, the protests will be responding to those system problems. So they're not going away.
Well said there, you guys. We have been joined today with Independent Street journalist Chuck Modiano and Sean Michael of Black House News. Please, y'all, Genevieve, at your convenience, can you drop Sean's and Chuck's cash at the information in the chat? And actually, I want to put it in our show description as well, so people can reach out and support, because what you all do is really so vitally important to this movement, gentlemen. And a lot of what we have seen and what we have learned, especially about how Metropolitan Police get down, especially about the stark differences in which they treat white supremacists, looters and rioters when they come to town. Huh?
Thank you. I'm being so rude right now, but we got another great street journalist here, Johnny Silvercloud. He just walked up behind me in Black Lives Matter Plaza, so I just want to let folks know him and so many others doing great work down here. That's all.
Brilliant, y'all. So love and solidarity to him. Love to Sean and Chuck. Thank you guys for making some time to hop on here with me, and I appreciate y'all expressing concern and reaching out about the little tiki torches that have been in my mentions as of the past couple of weeks. So thank you both so much. I appreciate all that you do, and especially the amazing work that you bring to the streets.
Absolutely. We got your back. Peace.
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Hey, I see we've got some people in the chat today. Hey, welcome newcomers, welcome new faces, welcome new names. Trolls, kick fucking rocks. You're not welcome here. This is not a safe space for you. But if you are new to us, please consider hitting that subscribe button. If you don't mind, gang, we picked up some new followers. And I at first I was a bit in confusion last night as I was combing through my hair and twisting my hair, right? Somebody calls me and says, did you know that you were on Tucker Carlson last night? I said, get the fuck out my face, man. What are you even saying? Tucker Carlson? Why the fuck would I be on Tucker Carlson? Well, come to find out, lo and behold, who was on Tucker Carlson? I'm gonna say us. We all was on Tucker Carlson because y'all ride with me. So when they see me, they see us. They see us. They see a united fucking front. And if you haven't seen this shit, children, if y'all have not seen this shit, sit back, relax, get comfy. Tucker took 90 minutes, 90 seconds. Oh my God. If he took 90 minutes out of his time to deal with me, then okay. 90 seconds out of his precious privileged time to go out of his way to try to dunk on me, a Black woman doing media on a relatively small channel. Tucker Carlson hopped over so many other bigger people with bigger platforms and bigger followings and bigger names to try to shit on me and turn his little troll army on me, your homie. I couldn't believe it. And I laughed my ass off when I saw that shit. So this will be a perfect time for you actually to spark your J. Actually, maybe this is not a good time for you to spark your J, because you might spit that shit out in laughter. Once you hear what this son bitch had to say about your homie. Tunde, hold on. I had it right in my brain, and I motherfucking forgot it. The joint where it says Tucker Carlson snitch tagged the FBI on me. That would be F2. Now, Tunde, real quick, before you play F2, this is how we're going to do this. We're going to play the clip in its entirety. So everyone, right, CJ, what the what? Yes, precisely. we're going to play the clip in its entirety. So those who have not seen it will have an opportunity to see it. And then Tunde, if we can get the split screen with me and Scrotum Face, so I can go by line of his horrible, inaccurate, devoid of fact-checking journalism, the levels of deflection the levels of snitching. I mean, anyway, let me not give it all away too much. So, gang, spark your J's. This is a funny one. Tunde, if we could please check out Tucker Shit for Brains Carlson.
Here's a clip from a show called Burn It Down with Kim Brown. You can get it on iTunes. You can watch it on any number of social media platforms, none of which has even considered censoring it. As you watch, ask yourself, how much influence should someone like this have over the country where your family lives?
For the record, I support all that. I support them looting the damn Dollar Tree. I support the looting of what other did they loot? Like the advanced auto parts. I remember last year they looted Target. I support all that. Loot all that. Do you know why? Because black people and marginalized and oppressed people could loot every store in this whole country for 200 years. It would not even come close to the debt that America owes us. Tear all that up. Tear it up. Because really, that's the language. That's the only language this country understands.
Tear it up, she says, burn it down. So how are the people in charge responding to this? Well, we're pretty sure the FBI isn't at Kim Brown's house tonight. We're confident that 60 Minutes isn't planning some extensive hit piece on her. No, those are reserved for Florida governors. In America's many newsrooms, Kim Brown is not considered a threat to anyone. She's considered an ally. Who's the threat? It's people who didn't vote for Joe Biden. They must be hounded into submission by the American news media.
I mean, am I one of the people who is going to be hounded in submission by the American news media, that is Fox News and Tucker Carlson? Because I didn't vote for no fucking Joe Biden. And if Joe Biden is the kind of politician that Tucker Carlson thinks that I would support, well, it's just further proof positive that Tucker Carlson, as in typical mediocre white man fashion, has been allowed to flourish on a platform that he does not deserve. You are on a news network, sir. I mean, I guess suppose we could call Fox News news. I mean, that's a news characterization, but at the bare minimum, I would think Tucker Carlson had people over there who could Google, who could fact check, who could perhaps back up some of the information and some of the rather misinformation that he's putting out there. So today, put me and Scrotum Face next together, if you could, please. This fucking milk toast mashup of men's warehouse, of Macy's menswear. Fuck out of here. I'm about to fry this nigga. Y'all get comfy. Let me see Scrotum Face there, Tunde. So play the first sentence, and when he says you can even buy it on iTunes, let's stop right there. We ready?
Here's a clip from a show called Burn It Down with Kim Brown. You can get it on iTunes.
You can't get it on iTunes, actually. First and foremostly, the show is not really available on iTunes. When we left The Real News, we did not have the iTunes permissions of the account that The Real News had set up. So as of right now, the iTunes that is associated with Burn It Down with Kim Brown, I'm going to assume has not been updated since December. But, you know, you'd actually have to research and, you know, investigate stuff in order to know such things. Tunde, next line, please.
You can watch it on any number of social media platforms, none of which has even considered censoring it. As you watch, ask yourself, how much influence should someone like this have over the country where your family lives?
Stop right there, Tunde. Stop it right there. Excellent question there, Tucker. I'm so glad you asked it. How much influence did someone like that have over the country in which you and your family live? Well, gang, I'm not sure if you all are familiar with this, but Tucker Carlson likes to socialize with people who are being investigated for sex trafficking and pedophilia. Now, Tucker, in typical non-self-awareness levels of delusion and arrogance, brought this particular person, Representative Matt Gaetz, onto his program so Matt Gaetz could try to explain to the world why he's not actually a sex trafficker, and outed Tucker Carlson as being someone that he is social with. He goes out to dinner with Matt Gaetz. Really? Really? Did you go out to dinner with Jeffrey Epstein too there, Tucker? Today, if we could please, can we please take a gander F1 as Tucker Carlson is chatting with Congressman Matt Gaetz and gets outed. Now hold on, guys. I'm reading a little bit more something into this clip because honestly, I feel as though Matt Gaetz was kind of low-key threatening Tucker Carlson because for the fact that Tucker Carlson is telling the FBI to come to my house, meanwhile, his homeboy is being investigated by the Department of Justice. I think that was a little bit of deflection on Tucker's part, right? Because chances are birds of a feather flock together, do they not? So if an alleged sex trafficker and pedophile is hanging with somebody, perhaps you might make an assumption that somebody might also perhaps be a purveyor of sex from underage people. But you know what? Let's take a look at this conversation. Two pals, best of buds, shooting shit, chopping it up, talking about how they used to kick it and hang out. Tunde, if we could please look at F1.
And I believe we are in an era of our politics now, Tucker, where people are smeared to try to take them out of the conversation. I'm not the only person on screen right now who's been falsely accused of a terrible sex act. You were accused of something that you did not do. And so you know what this feels like. You know the pain it can bring to your family. And you know how it just puts people on defense when you're accused of something so salacious and awful.
Let's go back to the investigation. You say that it was or is underway. There was an investigation. What is the basis of that investigation? What is the allegation? That's really not very clear from these news stories.
Yeah, again, I only know what I've read in the New York Times. I can say that actually you and I went to dinner about 2 years ago. Your wife was there, and I brought a friend of mine. You'll remember her.
I don't remember the woman you're speaking of or the context at all, honestly. But I would like to know who. So they're saying there is a 17-year-old girl who you had a relationship with. Is that true? And who are they? Who is this girl? What are they talking about? The New York Times.
The person doesn't exist. I have not had a relationship with a 17-year-old.
Not had a relationship with a 17-year-old since he was 25. Come on, man. Jesus, get off his back. But again, these are the kinds of people that Tucker Carlson would say is his esteemed company, right? Congressman, titled, credentialed. But, he's being investigated for sex trafficking and having sex with underage girls. Now, I know for Tucker Carlson's audience, that's probably a high five, right? That'll earn a fella a good attaboy. And there'll probably be some who will be like, well, the age of consent is 16. Well, let's ask ourselves this. Why in the hell would a grown man be interested in dealing with a teen? 17, 18, 19, doesn't matter. Matt Gaetz was grown as shit, fucking with teenagers, allegedly. But so Tunde, let's get Scrotum Face back up there if we could, please. So I want us to sort of get through where, let's fast forward my part, right? Again, the bleeps, hilarious. And I guess if Tucker Carlson is hanging out with Matt Gaetz, an alleged sex trafficker and alleged pedophile, perhaps the G-rated content is really what he's going for. So maybe the beeps make a little bit more sense. But yeah, let's sort of toggle through and, my part, and let's pick it up at Tucker's just ass crackery of analysis, because my God, no wonder why there are 700 people pulling their hair out and screaming into the void over on last Tuesday's video comments, because they watched this motherfucker. So I can't almost even be mad at these motherfuckers for being so dumb and gullible and misinformed, because look at the source. Consider the source. We ready to pick back up on Tucker's little segment on me, Tunde? All right.
Tear it up, she says, burn it down. So how are the people in charge responding to this? Well, we're pretty sure the FBI isn't at Kim Brown's house tonight. We're confident that 60 Minutes isn't planning some extensive hit piece.
Let me explain something to y'all. Y'all know where I'm at, right? I don't have to repeat it. Y'all know where I'm at. Don't y'all think if the feds was trying to catch up with me, they could just hop on the metro and say what's up? And you know why? The reason that the FBI is not at my house because they saw Tucker Carlson's little bullshit segment, took a gander over at my YouTube channel and said, she got 1,500 followers. Girl, bye. Like, I'm pretty sure government authorities are well aware that I am not actually dangerous. Now, I know Black women speaking their honest truth to power is considered dangerous by some, mainly the ilk of Tucker Carlson, but I'm not actually dangerous. I just smoke marijuana and mind my motherfucking business, and then I get pulled in some bullshit by some bitch ass niggas like Tucker Carlson and them little bitches over at the Daily Caller. And for Tucker Carlson to say that I bet 60 Minutes isn't dreaming up a hit piece on her like they are the Florida governor. Sir, do you think me and the governor of Florida are on the same level of power, responsibility, and a level of obligation to the public? Absolutely not. My obligation is to my family and to this audience. This governor of Florida is trying to make shit okay. If I understand this correctly, he's trying to loosen the laws on molestation or something along those lines. Yeah, I guess that would be sort of on brand with Tucker Carlson and the kind of company that he seems to keep. And Tunde, if we could resume, scrotum face, please.
Honor. No, those are reserved for Florida governors. In America's many newsrooms, Kim Brown is not considered a threat to anyone. She's considered an ally.
Stop it right there. Stop it right there, my G. Oh, Tucker. Let y'all, when he's now, out of all the shit that he said, when he said this, my eyes lit up. And I'll tell you why. Because Tunde, if we could please. Now, I know, first of all, if anybody here are fans of Last Week with John Oliver on HBO, I encourage you, I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube, to go and look at his episode that he did on Tucker Carlson. Rather well done. And, you know, Tucker comes from privilege, as you can imagine. That milquetoast fucking smirk says, I've never worked an hourly gig in my life. Minimum wage. What the fuck is that? What? Never even heard of it. What's that? So Tucker comes from money, but he doesn't come from a little money. Tucker comes from a lot of money. His family is of the Swanson TV dinners fame. Now, I don't know how much them Swanson TV dinners did, but I bet you Tucker didn't have to take out a loan to go to college. I bet you anytime Tucker had to go to the hospital or go to the doctor, he was not concerned whether or not he had funds enough to cover for his healthcare or for his dentistry or for his vision. So it's really interesting to hear political commentary and especially class commentary from a motherfucker who has never left his class, the upper class, the privileged class. I mean, Tucker, Jesus. And what did they say? Motherfucker hit a triple and was born on third and swear he hit a triple, right? White, male, and rich. Oh my God. World is his, unstoppable. World's wide open. And to give you an example of that, as Tucker Carlson just said, that many newsrooms would look at me as an ally. That is quite laughable. Tunde, if we could please, let's just take, this is very quick, y'all. F3, just to give y'all an idea of the range of different media outlets that have hired Tucker Carlson, featured him prominently, and given him his own program. Tunde, F3, please.
Now let's imagine a world where people like Nancy Pelosi and John Conyers hold the future of our nation in their hands. Here to help us ponder that terrifying probability, our old pal from Air America Radio, Rachel Maddow, joining us from New York.
Hi, Tucker.
Rachel.
Nice to see you.
Great to see you.
No, it's not honest. What you do is not honest. What you do is partisan hackery. And I'll tell you why I know it.
You on your show, and you sniff his throne, and you're accusing us of partisan hackery?
Absolutely.
You've got to be kidding, man.
You're on CNN. The show that leads into me is puppets making crank phone calls. What is wrong with you?
Well,
Now, gang, that's Tucker Carlson collecting checks from MSNBC and CNN, and now he's on Fox News. And judging by the level of journalistic integrity or even effort that he put into that little shit piece that he did on me, calling me a Black Lives Matter activist. Thankfully, this is where procrastination has worked in my favor. I have been remiss in joining an organization. So again, sir, citation needed. Where are you getting your information? You just get to make shit up because you have this wonderful, ginormous platform to which you broadcast your news program to millions of dollars who are so uncurious and unwanting to spread their base of knowledge, to just find out simple facts, which you obviously clearly do not provide. So Tucker Carlson, actually conversely, when you say that people in newsrooms want me as an ally, Tunde, if we could please look at, I believe it's G2 and G3, those two articles. Fortunately for us, the issue of newsroom diversity, as it gets studied and surveyed pretty much annually. And year over year, what is found is that newsrooms are overwhelmingly white. And they're not just overwhelmingly white, they are overwhelmingly white and male, to the extent that Neiman Lab, Tunde, I think we got that article up there too, took the data from several of these surveys. And what Neiman Lab found is that nearly half of all newsrooms are white and male, compared to the fact that white males make up 30%, about a third of the population, right? Whereas people of color make up 40% of the population. So if your newsrooms are half white males, chances are that other half is going to be a bunch of white females and others, right? So the newsrooms remain overwhelmingly white. And as you guys have seen, as the evidence, the small bit of evidence, because there's a lot more evidence out there, of the levels of mediocrity that Tucker Carlson is when it comes to performing his job and his due diligence as a journalist. Partisan hack is what Jon Stewart called him. Later in that same interview, he called him a dick. And really, John was being oh so polite. I am not here to be so polite. But the simple fact that privileged rich fucker had the audacity to try to sick the fucking FBI on me. Let me explain something to you, Chief. The FBI come knock on my door, me and you got a problem. we got a problem, because that is white peopling at almost the highest level of white peopling you can do. Calling the police on black people minding their business is one thing. Calling the whole ass feds, oh my goodness, sir. And as I mentioned, that is a deflection, a distraction. Tucker is probably under investigation by the feds for his dealing with Matt Gaetz. Because I'm telling you, I felt as though Matt Gaetz was low-key threatening Tucker in that clip. Like, Tucker, I'm sure you'll remember my guest, right? The one we was all getting freaky with your wife. You remember her, right? You was, you were standing behind her. I mean, like, come on, bro. We see you for exactly what you are. You are below average. You have white man fluked your way up to the top. And that's the only way that somebody like you can happen is in America. Do you think newsrooms will want somebody like me? Tucker Carlson, I can assure you, in the time that you worked at MSNBC, CNN, and absolutely at Fox, you never worked with somebody like me, because my perspective is not welcome in American newsrooms. I can assure you that. If you are not a Republican, if you are not a Democrat, then I guess you are just some odd aberration out there. Bringing me to my last point. Tunde, scrotum face, please. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry, Tunde. I'm out of control. Hey, y'all. Listen, I'm about to hit what's his name? Tucker Carlson with this last flip of the skillet, baby. We frying up troll today. I'm gonna flip his ass one more time. Meanwhile, I see there's 95 of y'all in the chat. So do me a favor, smash that subscribe button and that like button, because they trying to sick the feds and the trolls on me, man. Hold me down, everybody. Hold me down, Burn It Down fam, Burn It Down brigade. I need y'all to hold me down right now, man. We ready for scrotum face 2? Then let's go.
He's considered an ally. Who's the threat? It's people who didn't vote for Joe Biden. They must be hounded into submission by the American news media.
Yes, I'm sorry. And of course, again, Tucker Carlson showing that basic Google eludes him, showing that basic research apparently eludes his entire staff. Because on this channel, Burn It Down with Kim Brown, several videos have the name Joe Biden in them. And if any of these lazy, privileged hacks had even taken 10 minutes out of their schedule to prepare and research, but again, these things are not required of mediocre people. Mediocre people keep their jobs regardless of how terrible they are at them. I digress. If any of them had bothered to click on any of my videos that said something about Joe Biden, gang, how many times do y'all think I have said fuck Joe Biden right here at this very table? 100, 200, 500. What? Who are you talking about, Tucker Carlson? Those who did not vote for Joe Biden are drummed into obscurity, or what other sort of word salad you managed to put together. Then clearly you're not talking about me, because I didn't vote for Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a racist. You are racist. Y'all are just racist of a different feather. Actually, of the same feather, perhaps on different birds. But I make really little distinction between Tucker Carlson's brand of racism and Joe Biden's brand of racism. But of course, conservatives are so trapped in this binary thinking, even some liberals too, that if you're not a Republican, if you're not a Democrat, then I guess you don't count. Well, data proves that otherwise. The most people in this country, registered voters, are people who are non-affiliated with the party. Democrats are hemorrhaging numbers. Republicans are hemorrhaging party membership numbers. People are sick of this two-party bullshit because it's a trap. But again, those of us who choose other, right, who choose outside of this impossible lesser of the two evils conundrum of a decision that we're posed with at the presidential level every 4 years and even locally, we scare them. The reason why Tucker Carlson picked on me, a YouTube channel of, at the time, 14 or 1,500 subscribers, because he knows that he has the privilege over me. He knows that he can summon his troll army of millions to call me every ghetto, whore, cunt, bitch, terrorist, moron, idiot. These people are rather creative. Actually, they're not creative, because I've been called a cunt too many times. I'm like, y'all need a new word. Y'all need a new word, white men's, racist white men's, not my friendly white men's who support this program, but the racist white men's need a whole new word besides the C-U-N-T word, but I digress. So what's happening is Tucker Carlson is trying to shut us down, y'all. You want to talk about cancel culture? Tucker Carlson can't name a person in his sphere who has been impacted by cancel culture, right? Not one, maybe one. Let's say Jeffrey Epstein. But if that was his homeboy, again, birds of a feather says quite a lot of bit about Tucker Carlson. But people like me get canceled all the fucking time. People like me get canceled before you ever even get a chance to hear of us. And that is exactly what Tucker Carlson is trying to do, trying to wield his big bully pulpit against little old me, which again is very telling, because there are a lot of people with higher profiles, higher platforms, higher follower counts who would love to engage in a fight with Tucker Carlson. But apparently he doesn't want it with them. He wants it with me. He wants the feds to come to my house. He wants his troll army to report my videos for terrorism. Nigga, as if his whole audience is junior terrorists. His whole audience is full of people who support the actions on January 6th at the US Capitol. And if they weren't so racist, perhaps they could understand that maybe we could find some common ground. Because I'm going to tell you this real quick. When I was watching the events of January 6th, it was almost like it was New Year's Eve, baby. I said, how are my enemies fighting each other? Isn't this glorious? The white supremacist racists, Trump supporters versus the police, and they beating the shit out of each other. I'm rooting for everybody to win, right? You know, fuck him up. Yeah, fuck him up too. I'm rooting for everybody to win on January 6th, okay? And what's ironic to me is that Tucker Carlson will not have a crossword for those people, but will try to call someone like me a terrorist, right? So, gang, I just want to say thank you, first and foremostly, to everybody that left a comment, that tried to go in the comments and do battle with the trolls. It was too much. It was too much. There's so many comments under last Tuesday's show, the BIDWKB solo sesh fuck 12 episode. It's too many comments, but thank you all. This is how you support us. You support us by watching, by showing up every Tuesday and Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. You like us, you subscribe, you share. And for the people who are enormously generous, you sign up to be a patron at patreon.com/BIDWKB. And you can always hit us up with donations via Super Chat, which I see several people have done, and I was not keeping track, and I am terrible for that. So my apologies. I know Afra gave us up. What's up, Schulte? What's up, Schulte 100? What's up, Schulte 100? Schulte said, Kim Brown, they mention you on prime time. Respect. Sade. Let me explain something to y'all, man. Listen, I understand that we little and we gonna be big one day, but nigga, I do not want to be elevated by Fox fucking News, because here's the thing, and just real quick, I got an invitation to appear on a Fox News show today, and the person was like, well, even if you can't make it today, can you join us tomorrow? Now, my eyebrows are not done, so I'm not going on national television, kiss my ass. But even if my eyebrows were done, I would decline unless it was a paid appearance. And I'm going to tell you why. Because Fox News is generating a tremendous amount of views and clicks off of them using clips from my program to incite violence against me. So it would be foolish for me to show up on their network uncompensated, but yet I got to deal with all the scorn and all the bullshit from their viewers. So Fox News, if you're willing to pay my appearance fee, I would like to make an appearance on your network. Otherwise, kick rocks, shorty. Who is this? Cassie Radicaliste. Bonjour, ma soeur. Comment ça va? Bienvenue. And before I log off, hold on. I was looking at the analytics on the channel. Now, the analytics said that 72% of our audience is American. We only got like 2% Canada and 1% UK. And YouTube is not telling me where the rest of our viewers are coming from globally. It says 22% other. I'm like, other? Why other? Like, these countries don't have names. So if you're watching us internationally, if you could please in the chat, well, fuck, I wouldn't even say in the comments, because if these comments get out of control on this video, y'all, Kimmy gonna be MIA from the comments for a little bit, because bitch, these motherfuckers is crazy. They are crazy. So if you happen to be a viewer from outside of the US, UK, and or Canada, please drop this in the chatteroo. I'm highly interested to know. Oh, and there's another thing, y'all. So some of the comments, I read some of them, but a couple of them joints jumped out at me, y'all. Some of these people want me to go back to Africa. And I said, you know what? That's a great idea. Now, I'm tempted to create a GoFundMe to see if the racists will put their money where their mouth is and raise me up. And I'm a big axe too, shorty. If I start this GoFundMe, I'm asking for $500,000. I mean, why be cheap with it? These are the people with the resources. You know what I'm saying? If anybody got the bread to repatriate me back to the motherland, it is racist, 100%. So that is in consideration. Let me know also in the chat whether or not you think that is a good idea or not. But because I was smoking weed, I did lose my place in my train of thought, and I have retrieved it. So let me go back a couple minutes. When I was talking about these people that are in the comments and people like Tucker, well, fuck Tucker Carlson. We know what kind of time that motherfucker is, but his audience members are not the most informed, right? I don't know if they're economically oppressed. I'm gonna guess no. You know, especially not relative to black and brown. They all right. But part of the J6 insurrection, as I was watching, just the fight of a lifetime, something that I've dreamed about, racists versus cops. And niggas nowhere to be seen, right? Black people and brown people, indigenous people was not even in this equation, which made it that much more glorious. As these looters were looting the halls of the U.S. Capitol and screaming things, hunting down members of Congress and screaming such incendiary things like hang Mike Pence. I'm sitting there watching this and I'm thinking, wait a minute, guys. Now hold on. Hang Mike Pence. Let's hear him out. let me see where the rest of this platform is coming from, because some things are being said and done here that I actually find kind of attractive. But of course, you all know as well as I know that we can never be in solidarity with these people because they hate us just off the strength of us being Black. Doesn't matter if we're smart and if we're articulate, we will always be uneducated thugs. Regardless of how well we present ourselves, we will always be people who are against America, despite the fact that, if anything, Black people probably love this country more than anybody else because we still here. We ain't burned this bitch down yet. America's still standing. That is a testament to the soul of Black folks, and it should not be taken for granted. So, guys, I see we have had a rip-roaring show day. Again, let me thank our amazing, amazing guests. Black House News' Sean Michael Love, also Independent Street journalist Chuck Modiano, Jean-Biev, if you were able to drop their donation information in the chat or in the comments somewhere. Try to support them as much as you can, guys, because what they're doing, again, it kind of will, I guess, similar to what I'm doing, is a little dangerous. It wasn't dangerous until 2 weeks ago. it was cool. But Tucker Carlson wants to try to use his white power privilege to dunk on me and have all of his troll army burn crosses in my goddamn comments and in my mentions. And then he's going to go about on his little privileged life, unconcerned about the shit that he sent my way. So there's that. But guys, I can't thank you all enough. I mean, amazing. I'm seeing everybody in here. Luke Kang, Afra, what's going on, baby? Courtney the SLP is up in this bitch. What's up, Polly Gannon? What's up, Polly Gannon? See, every time I see Polly Gannon, I'm thinking that you Molly's name in disguise. What's up, Berlin? Afraid Not. I'm seeing everybody. Yes, Alicia. I'm seeing everybody. I didn't see Butterscotch Sweets. Is Butterscotch Sweets up in here? Susan Bradley. Thank you, my darling. Thank you all so much for your generosity, for your concern, and most importantly, for your support. Schultze 100, who else is up in here that I see? Steely Steve was up in here. Microsoft Word, technical support. Yes, you all. Yes, y'all. Yes. We gonna see if the racists put their money where their mouth is. Send us back to Africa. Go fund me, man. If y'all want y'all country back, you are more than welcome to it. It is just going to cost the amount to move us back to the motherland, and we would be more than happy to go. So again, y'all, thank you so much again. We will see you back here Friday for the Friday edition of Burn It Down with Kim Brown. Thanks again to our incredible staff here. Molly, give it up for Molly. Molly been crushing it, Jean-Biev. And of course, today, we try to make it do what we do, and we appreciate y'all dealing with this bullshit with us of the right-wing troll attack. So we shall get through this together, y'all. Thank y'all again. See y'all later. Bye-bye.